So, all right. Well, so here we are, episode two.
Episode 2.
Episode 2, blue collar startup. Derek Foster. Do you want to be Derek Foster of Daigle Cleaning Systems, Derek Foster of Care Clean, Derek Foster of Daigle Franchise, like
I would say of
Planet Earth?
yeah. Maybe we'll go with DCS franchising.
DCS Franchising.
Yeah,
All right.
we'll use that.
Perfect. And listeners are going to learn more about who you are and what you do here shortly.
I'll tell the whole story.
Tell the whole story, yeah. So we're going to start with kind of the background, the setup, the scale of the business, of where you were, where you are, who you are, what you do. So let's get right into it, man.
Sure. Yeah. Well, thanks for having me here, and excited to share the story. So I'm Derek Foster, as Mike mentioned, president of DCS Franchising. We're located in Albany, New York, and we have about 100 employees. We're in the commercial cleaning business, so we do everything from office cleaning to carpet care, floor care, some water restoration. We do have a residential maid service as well, smaller part of our business. We've been in business now for 10 years. It's actually our 10-year anniversary, so
happy anniversary.
We're celebrating that. Thank you. Yeah, it's great. My mom is my business partner, so we've been working together for years, and it's great. So family-owned business. We're local, and we're still growing. We started off, it was not what it is today, I can tell you that much. It's been quite the journey, and honestly, sometimes it seems like a blur, and you yourself, I'm sure, being a business owner, you sometimes forget to look back at some of the smaller accomplishments that you make along the way. There's always that next thing out there that you want to accomplish, and sometimes it's nice just to take a step back and or take a pause and look and say, hey, I've accomplished something. So we started off, it was just my mom and I. I come from a blue collar family. Grandparents were potato farmers from northern Maine, so they came down here.
Wait, hold on a second. Time out. Potato farmers from? I didn't even know they grew potatoes in northern Maine. That's a legit thing?
Oh yeah.
No
Way
kidding.
Up Fort Kent, Maine.
Okay.
So there's actually a couple of towns. There's a town called Daigle, Maine.
Okay.
Way up north.
Yeah.
And they're from a small town called Fort Kent.
That's cool.
Yeah, and we went back up there when I was 14 to kind of see everything where my grandparents grew up and all that good stuff, and it was really cool. Some of the family were in the logging business, others were farmers, and eventually the town just was small. They all wanted to venture off and go in their own direction. So they moved to Connecticut. My grandparents actually settled here in the Albany area, and my grandfather taught himself how to do drywall and insulation, and he got started off in construction, and then gradually grew, and learned to some of the other trades that were involved, and became a general contractor, and built houses with my Uncle Louie, actually. So that's kind of what I grew up in, and I always knew that, from a young age, I wanted to do something similar. I didn't know exactly what, but I loved going to work with them and learning some of the trades from a very young age. I think I was 13, 14. They'd set me up. Actually, when I was a 7 or 8-year-old, they'd set me up with some nails on a board and let me whack away with a hammer.
Nice.
And I really took the work ethic that I saw to heart, and I didn't know any different at the time. That was what I knew growing up, and translating that into my teenage years, transitioned and stayed in the construction industry through high school and college. Worked for a small company, Waterford, New York, and that was great. Learned a lot, and I still use a lot of that knowledge to date.
Oh yeah.
Even though I'm not in the business, it's there's something always seems like going wrong at the house, or something that has to be fixed, and just having that general knowledge and background, and it really comes in handy. So I did that through high school and college. Still had that entrepreneurial bug, and I guess I was bit by it at a young age. And I graduated college and found myself in a position of, what do I do now? And I could have taken a financial planning job and waited 6 months for my it's your CFP exam.
Oh, sure.
So Series 7.
Series 7.
So I would have had to study for that, take that, and after college, it's the last thing I wanted to do, right?
More studying.
Take another test. So, and I also needed to generate some income. I had, those student loans that were going to catch up pretty quick. So I knew I wanted to jump off on my own, and I didn't know exactly what until a family friend said to me, "Hey, why don't you look at the cleaning industry? You're having a hard time, finding somebody to, do the work for us." And I said, well, I had never thought of that. And, I went to the drawing board, did some research, and I saw an opportunity within, especially this market, for that type of service. There was there's a lot of demand, not enough supply.
Sure.
Similar to what we're going to talk about here with Blue Collar Startup in the general state of the country. But so I got started, and I worked construction still from when I graduated college, and people thought I was nuts. So they were like, you got a 4-year degree from RPI, and you're climbing up on roofs and stuff. And
right.
that's what I did. I didn't really know any different. I liked that type of work, so that's what I did. Got to a point where I got so busy working in the cleaning business, after I got launched and started, and I would gradually work on that at night, work construction during the day, work on that at night, sleep, do it all over again.
Yeah.
So, I was from 6:30 in the morning till 10, 11 o'clock at night, day after day. And it took me a year and a half to really get to a point to where I said, okay, now I need to make a decision here. And that's what I did. And we fortunately got busy enough in the cleaning business. And
so the cleaning business was your side hustle. So at that point, you got a college degree, you're not using it, you're working construction, which is how you worked your way through college. And now you have a side hustle, your cleaning business.
Yes.
And you did that. So it was a side hustle for a year and a half before you made the jump?
For a year and a half. And again, we talked about it on episode 1 where it seems like with some of the shows that are out there and the way the media portrays it, come up with a brilliant idea, you'll be a millionaire in a year, you'll whatever that, and you have to have patience and work towards it, and you put in a lot of sweat equity hours and a lot of hours into it up front, and you see the payoff, at some point down the road, and I guess that was my side hustle, and we're now rocking and rolling with 100 employees, and it seems like a blur.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and a lot's happened in between. A lot of learning lessons along the way.
I think when I met you, you were about 4 or 5 years in.
Yes,
You had
about
50
4 years.
employees, and
just
working your tail off still, but
writing processes and
Oh,
streamlining operations and all that good stuff.
Yeah. Tell us where you were then. So you're 4 years in.
Yep.
Tell us about life 4 years in with the company.
Well, with the company, it was great. I just, as an entrepreneur, you kind of get, you thrive off of that pressure and that level of stress that's there, right? And I was
always there.
It's always there.
Yeah.
Because it's, again, what can I get to and what can I achieve next? And you get going so fast, the days go by so quick, and you're solving problems and doing a little bit of everything, and that's the position I was in. I was doing sales, I was doing operations, I was still in the field cleaning and working along with the guys too.
Mm-hmm.
So you wear a lot of hats when you're in any business, and this was no different. So when we met, my big problem was figuring out how to essentially create processes and delegate the responsibilities that were not going to pay off, and there are areas that I needed to focus my time, and I had a hard time separating myself from the day-to-day in order to be able to focus on those things. So creating the processes, making sure people followed them, and just overall delegating those responsibilities was probably one of the biggest challenges that I've faced, and it's still tough. your first instinct as a business owner is to jump in and fix the problem yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I've learned that every time you do that, not only do you prevent somebody else from stepping in and growing personally and learning how to fix that problem, so you don't have to do that in the future. And I think that was one of the biggest lessons that I had to learn. And again, sometimes I have to remind myself, don't jump in, don't touch it. We have a great staff, great culture, and I can't say enough about them. And sometimes I still have to pull myself back. Let them figure it out. If something bites them, in the ass, it's gonna bite them in the ass.
Right,
they're gonna learn the hard way. And that's how I think we forget that. That's as you build a business, you learn the hard way a lot of times.
Yeah.
And it's not about how many times you fail, it's how quickly you can fix those problems and keep moving forward.
Yeah, it's funny to say that. I remember I was giving a talk somewhere years ago, and sometimes I just say things that I probably shouldn't say, and so someone asked a question about that, like about customer service, and I was like, well, listen, everybody sucks sometimes. Right, that was my response to this. There's like a couple hundred people. I was like, probably shouldn't have said that, and they all laughed, and it was funny. But it was everybody sucks sometimes. And what I said to them was like, it's not about being perfect and creating a business that is, 10 out of 10, 24 hours a day, 365. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
And that it really, a good company, it's all about what you do after the mistake and after you screw up, and standing behind what you do as an organization and making sure that your employees know that you're going to stand behind what
Absolutely.
And that you're going to rectify the mistake or make good on it anyway.
Yeah.
So it's...
And perfection sometimes is the enemy of progress, right? You can spend all of your time trying to be perfect on every little thing, and it's never going to happen. There's no such thing as perfect. And frankly, when everything is perfect, nobody learns anything.
Right.
So it's kind of that push and pull where, how do I balance and make sure my clients are taken care of and happy, and in the background manage all of these things that are happening without them seeing it. That's what it's all about. Having that professional presentation to your client and having your staff be able to support what you want to put out there. So
it's really funny you say that too, because I recently had a new hire was doing a new task. She was learning, and like you said, again, room to make mistakes, and but aim small, miss small. So I don't give them the room to make big mistakes. But something happened. I can't remember what the situation was, but she literally sent the an email to the client. She's like, "Well, now that I know what I'm doing," and I was just I saw the email come through, because I tell her, because she's in training, so she had to CC me on everything, and I saw the email and I was just like, all right. We just ignored that one. I told her after, I was like, hey, listen, we want to project confidence.
Yeah.
Please don't tell them that you didn't know what you were doing before I showed you how to do it.
Yeah.
It's not the kind of, everybody knows, but we don't, it's like a no-hitter. You just don't talk about it.
Yeah, and it's great when you get to a point. You've been in business for long enough, and I think I have too, that when those things happen, you have two choices.
Right.
You can either fly off the handle, steam coming out of the ears, or you can, things that are going to work out, and you have it. You take that opportunity to have a positive conversation with the person.
Yeah, flying off the handle is never good.
It doesn't work.
No, it's not going to solve anything. That's for sure. So, again, just because we want to kind of talk about the scale thing. So, all right. So we talked about 4 years in, 50 employees. Now you're 10 years in, 100 employees. And you're bored.
Oh, I'm not bored. I am by far bored. It's what's great though is I have a great team, and they help support whatever we all sat down about 6 months ago actually, and we knew we had to make some culture changes in order to get to where we wanted to go, and our leadership team sat in a room and we hashed out what our values are going to be and what our mission was going to be, what our vision was. And now they have ownership in that. Yeah. And that's what we project every day. We have weekly meetings with the staff, and that's what we project. Our new slogan is "Cleaning professionals work here." That's what we're utilizing in recruiting. That's what we're utilizing in hiring. We raised and elevated our standards and what we'll accept. And that's really been the key to being able to get to that next level, and we have to continue that now. And it takes time and it takes patience. It doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, it's interesting because I know one of the coolest lessons I ever learned in business was that the people, and we've talked about this, the people that get you to 500,000 are not the people that are going to get you to $1 million, are not the people that are going to get you to 2 million, are not going to be the people that get you to 5 or 10 or 50, and we say that as a general rule, and obviously there's an exception here and there that there's people that can grow and evolve just like your business can, but when you're talking about redoing and reevaluating your goals and your mission and your vision and your company values, how often do you think that you've done that now over the last 10 years?
Several, because you start off and you're, it's just you wearing all the hats. So there's really you don't need buy-in, and you don't need, you're doing everything yourself,
sure.
Right? So now all of a sudden you have people who are looking at you and saying, what do I do now? And how they're looking for you to give them that direction and that buy-in. And every time you have new people that come on, whether they're on your leadership team or if they're just a part-time employee, if they don't believe in what you're trying to do at that next level and trust in the people that are around them, it's not going to work. And until you find that combination. So every time you change anybody out, you really have to evaluate and make sure whoever you bring in fits within those values and really buys into the mission and vision of what you're doing. So
that's cool. That's interesting that you're saying that as how it all kind of changes.
So
just
over time, I mean, we've probably revisited about 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
In the last 10 years.
Nice.
Yep.
And how different do you think that the vision, mission, values, goals becomes each time? Is it close to what it was, just slight changes or major changes or?
Slight changes. We didn't change too much. Our values now, it's integrity, communication, and teamwork. And we had more of a long drawn out list of values. Now it's short, concise, and we picked words that would really sum up what we're trying to do. So it's more so of just editing it and making it fit. And I think the bigger piece is allowing people to put their own ideas out there and having everybody hash out what changes you're going to make. I think that's the biggest thing, more so than actually making the changes, because then they're invested in it.
Nice. So what for the company, what's next? Like what kind of goals do you currently have for what you're doing?
Yeah, there's always, like I said, though, what can we accomplish next? What can we do next? And for us, we want to go nationwide with this thing. So DCS Franchising is our franchising company, and we're looking to put locations throughout the U.S. So essentially what I'm looking to do now is help others who either have some cleaning experience or none at all, and teach them how to be business owners, or take people who have been business owners and in business and show them the cleaning industry and how it works and how to make money. And that's really our goal right now. So for me, it's to be able to share what we've done here in our Albany, New York location, and be able to replicate that elsewhere. So we have a lot of goals. We want to start spreading throughout the Northeast. We just moved and picked up an account that we have some locations and accounts now in the Syracuse area, Utica, Rome, Vermont. So we have a franchise location in Westchester. It's doing very well, and that was our first location. So I take a lot of pride in that, and we're looking just to duplicate that success and keep moving forward with it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And so now we talked about the business and the company. I'm curious, just for you specifically, right? What any kind of, like, do you get a crazy morning routine? Are you drinking any weird coffee in the morning? What kind of routines do you have to keep yourself? Because you said, you've been at it and hard at it, and I know that. Like, I think I commented earlier that when it comes to doing some of the stuff that we're doing, that you're just a machine, man. Like you bang out work like nobody I think I've ever seen. So I'm just, how do you keep that vitality and
I appreciate it. Yeah, it's I think it's more so of just repeating what I've done in the past, and I've always been one, the harder you work, the luckier you get, and the faster things will happen. So that kind of keeps me driven, but no crazy morning routines. you know, I do get up fairly early, you know, around 5:36, and
I was gonna say, are you in the 5 a.m. club, or are you?
no, you know, some night I'm on the computer late, you know,
Yeah.
and I work till 10:30, 11 o'clock. You know the deal.
Yeah.
You know, it's like,
Same.
you know, you're cranking out emails, getting caught up, and trying to get ahead. And you know, so everybody's got to find a schedule, I feel like, that works for them.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no, you know, one way of doing things. You know, so no crazy morning routine. Let my dog out, eat breakfast. You know, it's nothing nothing crazy. And I'm out the door. I'm usually at the office by 7:15, 7:30, and end of the day I wrap up. I do have a pretty rigorous workout routine, as we were talking about before. I that's my kind of my place to, you know, zone out and take some time and really be able to think, as weird as it sounds, because it's an absolute torture session. But it's great. You know, I'm able to clear my head and then get back to it. So that keeps me sane. I do, you know, high intensity, right? HIIT training.
Yeah.
Does it stand? Yeah.
Right? What does it? Yeah, what does that stand for? It's like HIIT or high intensity interval
Sounds for
training. That's it.
Yeah. Kick my ass would be easier.
Yeah.
But
I feel like I'm gonna vomit, possibly die.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's once you get used to it, it really is great. So I do that 4 or 5 times a week, and keeps me grounded. And I do have a lovely wife at home. She's a saint for putting up with me, and a beautiful 2.5-year-old daughter. And I try to spend as much of my free time with them as possible.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's really about it. You know, family's important to me. I spend time with, you know, my brother. My brothers are fairly close, so we all try to get together as much as possible, and we have some extended family in the area we love spending time with, and try to get around and see everybody. It's tough, you know.
Yeah.
Try to manage your family life, work life, and
Yeah.
you know, it's a lot.
It is a lot.
But we do it.
Yeah. So we're gonna take a quick break.
Okay.
And then we're going to come back and we're going to talk a little bit about blue collar workforce, the state of the workforce, and future of it, and all that fun stuff. So
Look forward to it.
hold tight. All right, so we're back, and we are talking about the current and future state of the blue collar workforce.
Yeah.
So I know one of the things of, you know, why we wanted. Actually, I have an interesting story. So I was at a client meeting. One of my clients who owns a blue collar business. He went into the military, came out of the military, engineer guy. Ended up creating a manufacturing, and I won't give any too much details because I don't have his permission to talk about it yet. But he's done very well for himself over the last 30 years. He just celebrated 30 years in business. And
awesome.
And really great guy, loves the blue collar community, has done a lot to give back to it, and really interesting. So I was telling him about this, and he was like, I don't want to say visibly upset, but he does not like the term blue collar. He was like, hey, do not call it blue collar. And I was like, well, I mean, it's too late, bud. We already, we already named it. We already had a logo like it. And he was like, it's middle labor force.
Interesting.
He's like, it's the middle labor market, the middle labor force. He's like, don't call it, because he is a few years older than us. So he grew up when blue collar was just, that was a derogatory term almost.
Gotcha.
And so and that's how he looks at it. So it's just really interesting.
That is interesting.
That how his mindset on it. And I was like, well, come on the podcast and tell us about why we don't want it to be. You know, like I'd love to hear.
Yeah.
And he was saying some really, really, really interesting stuff about the blue collar workforce, middle labor market. And just about the fact, like he had a bunch of documentation about, you know, graphs showing, you know, here's the cost of college to become a lawyer or a doctor or an accountant. Here's the cost of going to trade school, you know, and the income levels and all this. It was really cool information.
We got to get him on here.
I know. I'm going to work on it. So give me, you know, what's your outlook as far as the blue collar, you know, the future of blue collar and where it is and where it's gone?
So, you know, we talked about in the first episode where, you know, we're both trying to get things done around the house, and, you know, we're trying to get contractors in to help us out with some things. And, you know, even within our business, we had an overhead door that went, which the spring broke, and
Ooh.
it took a little while for us to be able to get somebody even out there, you
Yeah.
know, and everybody's short staffed. It's everybody we talk to,
Mm-hmm.
everybody that I talk to, clients that are in the construction field that I deal with, and it's tough. Right now, I think us here in the capital region, but the country as a whole, I think we've kind of lost, the sense of pride as to, what America was built on.
Mm-hmm.
There used to, I feel, be like a huge sense of pride in constructing a building, and having a part in that. And I feel like now it's like probably what your clients say, it's almost like looked down upon. And, it shouldn't be that way. As you mentioned, the cost of college, I'm in that generation, and I'm sure you were as well, where it's like, our parents were in that middle labor class, and they wanted better for their children. So our generation, everybody said, go to college, get your degree.
Go to college and get a real job.
And learn a few other tricks while you're there, and how to socialize and all that good stuff. That typically takes over. But I went to college and wouldn't trade it for the world. I had a great experience. I did. But I think there's something to be said with the cost of college right now, and some of the alternatives that are there, and the demand for the work once you get done with that schooling. If you can cut your schooling from 4 years to 2, and then come out with a job making 80, 90 grand a year, why would you not? There's people with 4-year degrees who can't find a job.
Oh yeah, a lot of them.
And it's sad, and it's scary, but especially where I went to high school, and a lot of high schools, it's the first thing they do when new freshman class comes in. All right, here's your plan for 4 years. And college is at the end of it. It's what we've been accustomed to, and there are other alternatives out there that can help fill and solve some of these labor supply issues that we have. And it's skilled work. It's not easy. You have to have experience and be technically trained. And there's options out there. So, my outlook is, if it doesn't change, it's only going to get worse. And again, with that shortage of a labor supply, prices keep going up.
Yeah.
So, you want your shower redone, guess what? It's going to cost you 3 times as much.
Yeah.
In a few years to get that done. And it's simple supply and demand. That's what it comes down to.
And if there's another pandemic, you are considered what the hell was the term that we had for people that could work during the quarantine? I know, I'm drawing a blank on it right now.
Yeah, I'm drawing a blank as well.
Not necessary workers, but
essential workers.
Essential workers.
Yes.
Blue collar equals essential.
So, we were fortunate enough throughout the pandemic that we kept all of our people working. We were considered essential. A lot of the projects we were on were deemed essential, so we were very fortunate. But a lot of folks who were in, white collar industries and were going to the office every day, sitting in a cube, next thing you know,
sitting in the cube. Even that just sounds awful, right? Sitting in the cube.
And now they're
You want to be out in the field or sitting in the cube?
Yeah, enjoy the nice weather during the summertime.
That's right. Yeah.
But it's an interesting time that we have all these external forces that are out of our control, completely out of our control. Everybody's dealing with it the best that they can, and doing what's best for them and their family. And at the end of the day, we're just trying to raise awareness of an issue that is growing. It's an underlying issue, and also identify an opportunity. From chaos comes opportunity. I love that term. And with the lack of supply and of that middle labor market, there's a huge opportunity for people.
Yeah.
And we want to help everybody to understand that's there, and give them the tools that they need and the contacts that they need to either get into a trade school and learn a trade, or go off and start their own business, whatever the case may be, whatever the situation is.
Yeah. What so tell us, thinking back at or looking back at the last 10 years, what what kind of successes, what kind of failures, what kind of lessons learned, if you're going to tell someone that's listening
Sure.
right now, like, hey, here's some things that I learned, and here's, don't do this or do this. What would it be for you?
I think for me, we've had a lot of successes along the way, and like I mentioned earlier, sometimes we don't stop and really
Mhm.
take that in, and you have to. I would say celebrate the successes would be one of the things that I've learned,
Mhm.
because if you don't, you end up in a place where nothing is ever good enough, right? You could accomplish so much in the course of a year, but you might fall slightly short of your goal, but
Mhm.
fail to basically take a look behind you and say, wow, I did all of this. So that would be one thing, because I ran into that issue where we were growing so fast and so many moving pieces. And I was a young kid, 20-year-old, and I was running around all over the place. And I had so many things I wanted to accomplish,
Mhm.
but what I didn't realize is that it would take time. I wanted everything to happen now.
Immediately.
So now, in my early 30s, I've learned patience,
Mhm.
and it goes a long way. You can't manage people when you're constantly impatient. So I think that's been a big downfall for me in certain circumstances, and I feel like I've rushed some certain things that in situations I think it could have been handled better. But in the essence of time, nope, we'll do it this way. And
Sure.
next thing you know, and I'm eating my words. So patience goes a long way. So that's one thing that I've learned. And
Well, how about what biggest shitstorm that you saw in the last 10 years? Like, what was the biggest thing that you faced, biggest challenge that you went through that probably taught you the most?
so, in our business, it's a very people-oriented business. There's no robots that are going to clean buildings, right?
Mhm.
So you're dealing with people constantly. And, again, culture is so important, because if everybody's not united behind that culture, then people don't really have that buy-in, and they're just, again, there to show up and do a job.
Mhm.
We want people to be able to go in and take ownership and do their best and grow and advance and build a career with us. So I think our biggest failure early on is, we ended up with significant amount of turnover in a short period of time, about 4 or 5 years ago. And it was a wake-up call for me, because I couldn't really identify as to why.
Mm-hmm.
And I took a step back and looked at it, and I had a few people who were burning the candle at both ends. And I made the mistake of, I kind of saw it, but I didn't do anything about it, where I could have said, hey, you all right? What's going on? And had that personal conversation. Whereas, so I guess what I'm getting at is, I didn't always have empathy, and somebody could have had something going on outside of work, and I could feel that energy be off, but I didn't address it in the moment. And I think that's one of the bigger things, and especially now with, again, the state of the world and what everybody's gone through over the past couple of years. Let's face it, we're in a tough world. It's not easy, and we have to appreciate the efforts that everybody is that everybody's putting in, and have empathy when things outside of work come up, and celebrate people's and our staff's successes inside of work, outside of work. So that's really been probably one of the biggest things that I had to deal with, where we were scrambling when we had a bunch of turnover to fill spots. We lost a couple of accounts here and there, and you learn from that. And now we've been able to shape the culture, and we're much better for it. So
Nice.
every situation you kind of look at, and it's different, and there's different lessons to be learned from every success, every failure. I think that one, we didn't have our job descriptions ironed out as we should have. We didn't have set job descriptions. We'll have examples of those, by the way, in the members only section in the portal, but in tools such as that. But interview techniques, we perfected that process, and really elevated our job ads, elevated our interview process, and that's helped as well. We kind of got so specific to identify and look for certain types of people on the DISC personality profile
Yep.
list, to fit certain positions. So again, we learned a lot just from, we probably shouldn't have hired a couple of those folks. But at the same time, they're human beings and we have to exhibit, empathy when they're going through something. So
yeah,
it's a delicate balance.
No, I know, and it's interesting because I myself have made a couple of poor hiring decisions recently, and
It happens.
it does happen, and I find that it typically happens when I get lazy and don't follow the processes that we have in place for that. But at the same time, I also feel that once I hire someone, I have a responsibility
Yep.
to their success. And so that's why I was asking. I'm just wondering, like, is it bad going in, or was it just something changed after, or I recently had to let somebody go, unfortunately, which is not what we want to do. But one of the reasons why I stopped trying to be an active part of his success was because I was working harder for his success than he was, and I was just I had that conversation with him. I was like, hey, buddy, like, I'm working harder for you to be here than you are, and
But you know what the crazy part about that is, if you didn't have that conversation with him, no matter how difficult it was for him to hear, somebody had to tell him, right? And hopefully he took that and said, wow, wake up call. I got to be better on my next adventure, right? So you might actually help him out in the long run.
Yeah.
So
I was trying, even to the very end. When I went in and had that conversation with him, it wasn't even to let him go. It was like, I need to figure out how we can get you to be successful here, man. But I'm feeling like I'm working harder than you are at it. So what are we gonna do to change that? And and I do think that he took it to heart. But by the end of the conversation, we both figured out that this just wasn't the place for him. So
it's a will versus skill.
Yeah.
If you don't have the skills, we can teach you. But if you don't have the will, we can't really give that to you.
Can't. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
So anything you do differently?
I don't think so. I've been, very fortunate and, and blessed for everything that has kind of happened and in the sequence that it's happened. We don't always like the sequence of events and in the way that things go because we're impatient, like I mentioned before. But I strongly believe that if you remain positive and you believe that positive things are going to happen, as long as you work hard, then good things are going to come about.
Yeah.
And really, I don't think I would do anything differently. Of course, I could look back at all my mistakes and say, hey, I wouldn't have done this or done that. But in the grand scheme of things, I feel like it was really, everything kind of fell into place, when it was supposed to. And sometimes we, want things to happen faster than they do, like I mentioned before. And it's all a process, as long as you're making progress or doing something to move in a positive direction every day, that's all we can do.
Yeah. Even slow progress is progress, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Any mentors, anybody that's helped you along the way stands out?
It's, yes. So I mentioned earlier, my grandfather, Will, and my uncle, they were mentors to me growing up because that was the example. I'd go to work with them and I saw them in building decks and additions and all sorts of cool woodworking and building houses and all that. And then I got to be older and now I'm faced with some of the business problems that they were faced with, and they were able to offer some guidance here and there. As far as industry and our industry, I really didn't. It's tough. Our industry is very competitive. I reached out to a competitor who had actually went to the same high school that I did a long time ago, tried to connect, and it didn't really go anywhere. And that's okay. I get it. So I didn't have any mentors that were in our industry. But being around different people, whether it be, networking groups or, different trainings, you just kind of, you work with people and you look to people for guidance. And that's really what I've done over the years. When I started, I was very young. I didn't know a whole lot. So, I had insurance guys and accountants, people who were mentors to me in that capacity. You were a mentor in a way when we were doing the business coaching, right? And no, it's there's always something to learn, and like we talked about in every stage, and as you move through the process of building a business, and sometimes that sounds cheesy, but it's true. You got 2 ears and 1 mouth. You got to listen more than you talk.
Yeah.
And I've always kept that in the back of my mind. So when somebody in the room, who's trying to help you and give you advice, you don't necessarily have to implement all of it, but at least listen and take it in. It's important. So
nice. What's how about any advice for someone thinking about either making the leap into the side hustle or making the leap from side hustle to is now the time to go from side hustle to full time? Anything you give them?
My advice would be to do it and don't wait. There's that fear, and I know because I've been through it. There's that fear of what if this fails, right? That's everybody's greatest fear. I was young enough to where I was like, well, if I fail, whatever, I'll go do something else.
I'll go jump back on a roof somewhere.
Yeah, and honestly, that's one of the best ways you can go about starting your own business is have that safety net in a full-time job. Use that to be able to build a business in your off hours, right? There's 24 hours in a day. You sleep for 8 of them. Technically, you go to work for 8. What do you do with the other 8 hours, right? There's room there if you really want to build a company in that spare time. And you don't have to go crazy. It can be some research and putting together a quick business plan. At least jot your thoughts down and what you want to do. And if you really believe in it, just go do it. Because unless you try, you're never going to know. And I guess my biggest fear would be if I didn't make that leap and I'm sitting, 10 years later and I didn't go through everything that I've been through, and you wonder, well, what if I would have went down that path? And, I'm just fortunate that I did. And again, it's not easy. It's a tough journey, but if I could do it, anybody can. You have to have that work ethic and drive, and again, have that safety net. Go start, a side hustle and get your feet wet, and jump in. When the time is right, and you'll know when the time is right. It takes time to build a client list. It takes time to get things built out to a point where you can actually make that leap. But it's very, very doable. So especially now, everything's chaos.
I know, right? Nothing's safe.
And there's never going to be a better time, I don't think, than right now to start looking at things differently and go into business if that's something that's really been, eating at you. And Blue Collar Startup, that's what we're here to help. We're here to help people be able to do that and realize those dreams and give you resources to be able to not make some of the same mistakes that I did. And I'm sure that you did. So, it's exciting stuff. And I hope, to those who are listening, that at least some of you, are actually, that are thinking about this, actually go do it. And we want to hear about it. So jump on the website, share it with us. We want to hear about, what you're working on, what your story is. And, we're here to communicate and help whoever we can.
Yeah, send us some questions. If there's something you got a burning itch, something you really need to know about, send it on.
We don't know it all, but chances are somebody in our network somewhere will know an answer.
We definitely don't know it all.
No.
Secret to success, in your words?
It's simple, hard work and persistence, perseverance. It's not how many times, it sounds cheesy, but no matter how many times you get knocked down, because it happens twice a week to me, it's about how many times you get back up. Things could go sideways, and no matter what, as long as you know that, hey, I got this, I've been down this road before, I'm tougher than this, I can work harder than this, you're always going to be okay. But it can get discouraging. There were times as we were growing the business where it's like, I don't want to do this, and what if I didn't have to worry about this anymore, and you start, those thoughts go through your mind, and the best thing that I could do is let's go to the gym.
Right. Find some sort of outlet. Yeah.
Right, because that you're thinking it, but you don't really mean it, and you know, that perseverance and being able to continue on and work hard despite all the craziness going around you, especially after the last 2 years, man. It's been crazy.
Yeah.
You know, it really has been. And, you know, like I said, we've been fortunate enough to be able to stay busy for the most part. And, you know, it's been a roller coaster. But we get through it.
Get through it. One day at a time. What if someone's interested in DCS franchising or wants to get a hold of you? How do they do that?
Absolutely, yeah. Jump on our website, www.daigleclean.com. We're here. I'm here 24/7, 365. So reach out, send me a note through the website. Happy to talk to you more about our franchising opportunities if that's something you're interested in. Teach you how to grow and scale commercial cleaning business, especially in today's climate. It's a great industry to be in, and there's a lot of opportunity out there as well.
Yeah, man.
So.
Absolutely. And so next week we've got episode 3. Who's our speaker? Who are you interviewing next week?
We have Devin Kamengay from Kamengay Construction.
Okay. All right. So a little residential construction?
Mainly residential, yeah. He's actually he's a friend of mine, great guy, and he's got a really cool story.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to
Made the move actually from education into being his own boss and running his own company. So
nice.
Yeah, it's gonna be exciting.
That's awesome. Well, thanks for listening to Blue Collar Startup. We'll be dropping new podcasts a couple times a month here, interviews with blue collar business owners that have made the jump and making a living and doing all the stuff. So looking forward to it.
Awesome, likewise.
Thanks, everybody.